If you take a close look at Leonardo da Vinci's most famous painting, you'll notice something strange. The Mona Lisa has no eyebrows. Scholars debate whether the artist intended it that way or if the eyebrows have faded over time, but this small detail makes her smile even more enigmatic. We are used to reading emotions through facial expressions, and the absence of familiar features is disorienting. It's like having a conversation with someone, but part of their words suddenly disappears. Each viewer fills in the gaps in their own way. Perhaps that's why the smile of the Gioconda is so captivating. It communicates with us through the silence of missing details. On the southern coast of Iceland, there is a black beach that is never the same. Every year, its contours change. New dunes rise in some areas, while in others, the sand completely disappears. This is all due to winds and powerful underwater currents that move the sand along the shore. Locals and tourists note that today the beach looks one way, but a year later it's different, as if someone has rearranged its parts. It feels like nature itself is painting new scenes right on the shore. This place has become a true mystery for scientists and attracts travellers, as here one can literally witness the changing land and feel the breath of the ocean, capable of reshaping entire landscapes. In the old houses of Venice and Florence, secret staircases hidden within the walls are still being discovered. Aristocrats built them as a backup escape route in case of danger or attack. These concealed passages led to secret rooms or allowed for a discreet exit from the house. Today, such discoveries captivate tourists. You enter an old mansion and suddenly find a small door, behind which lies a narrow spiral staircase, leading who knows where. It feels as if the house itself is guarding its secrets. These architectural tricks serve as a reminder that life in past centuries was not only luxurious, but also dangerous, requiring caution and clever solutions. In Armenia, a chocolate bar weighing over 4 tons was once created. It measured 5.5 meters long and nearly 3 meters wide. Making it took 10 days and a huge amount of cocoa beans. Imagine, an entire stadium of children could have feasted on this chocolate field. When the chocolate was finally unveiled at the celebration, it wasn't placed in a museum. It was simply broken apart and shared with the people. There's something touching about this. The largest sweet symbol in history became a communal treat. It's as if the very idea of chocolate, sharing joy, materialized in this record-breaking bar. The sea lily may seem like a flower, but it is actually an ancient animal. The name is misleading. Sea lilies look like flowers on long stems, but they are echinoderms, distant relatives of starfish and sea urchins. They live on the ocean floor and feed by filtering water, capturing tiny crustaceans and protozoa like living nets. Since ancient times, sea lilies have been considered some of the oldest creatures. Their ancestors appeared hundreds of millions of years ago and survived numerous mass extinctions. Interestingly, nature sometimes creates animals that resemble plants, which can confuse even scientists. There's a myth that a duck's quack doesn't echo. In reality, that's not true. Physics works the same for all sounds. It's just that a duck's quack has a frequency and duration that make the echo seem quiet and unnoticeable. In a quiet place, you can catch it, but under normal conditions it fades away. So the myth arises from the peculiarities of our hearing, not from nature itself. It's amusing how often we create legends to explain ordinary things. A duck quacks with an echo. It's just hard to hear. So next time by the pond, try to listen closely. You might catch that hidden stereo. Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. Its diameter is only about 5,000 kilometers, which is less than half of Earth's. Imagine a sphere the size of Africa. That's roughly what it is. Yet Mercury is also the fastest. It orbits the Sun in just 88 Earth days. While we celebrate one new year, Mercury manages to celebrate 4. On its surface, there's hellish heat during the day and icy cold at night. It turns out to be a planet of contrasts, small, fast and very harsh, like a cosmic sprinter living in an extreme rhythm. It may seem surprising, but trousers, once considered a symbol of savagery, were ridiculed by the ancient Greeks, who mocked the Persians for wearing them, calling them bags. For the Greeks and Romans, the tunic was the attire of a civilized person. Trousers were seen as coarse and barbaric clothing until the Romans, expanding northward, encountered the Celts and adopted this practical wardrobe item. It's amusing to think that today it's hard to imagine our world without trousers, while they were once a sign of barbarism. The history of fashion knows how to take incredible turns. In the late 90s, Furby toys appeared in the US. Furry, chatty creatures with electronic eyes. Rumours circulated that they could record conversations and send them somewhere. It got to the point where they were officially banned from government facilities, including the National Security Agency. Of course, it turned out that Furbies were not spies at all, just a myth and panic surrounding a new toy. But history shows how people sometimes fear technology. A toy designed for children's play briefly became a dangerous agent. Funny, isn't it? Glass seems like something familiar to us. Windows, bottles, phone screens. But if you think about it, it's a true marvel of nature and human ingenuity. It all starts with ordinary sand, which is heated to temperatures over 1,400 degrees. It melts and transforms into a transparent material. This process has been known since the time of ancient Egypt, and since then it has hardly changed, only become more precise. Consider how amazing it is. What crunches under our feet on the beach can, after being subjected to fire, become a transparent window through which we view the world. Ordinary sand has the power to reshape civilization. Polar bears appear to be snowy creatures, as if sculpted from ice. However, if you push aside their thick fur, you'll find that their skin is not white, but black. This colour helps the animals absorb solar heat more effectively and retain it in harsh Arctic conditions. Thus, the white fur serves as camouflage, while the bear's true clothing acts as a heater. This dual mechanism allows them to survive in temperatures that drop below -40. So, the polar bear is not just a fluffy giant, but a true engineering marvel of nature, where everything is meticulously designed. Interestingly, even the mightiest trees have a limit to their growth. It turns out that no tree on the planet can exceed a height of about 130 metres. The reason lies in physics. Water cannot rise up the trunk beyond a certain level. It's like trying to drink through a straw the length of a skyscraper. At some point, the liquid simply stops. This is why even the majestic sequoias, the tallest trees in the world, reach this invisible threshold. We look up at them in awe of their grandeur. But they too are subject to the strict laws of nature that impose a limit where it seems there could be infinity. 4,500 years ago in ancient Egypt, people were making dental prosthetics. Archaeologists have found jaws with artificial teeth secured by gold wire. Of course, it looked crude compared to modern technologies, but for its time, it was a medical marvel. Imagine how a priest or noble could smile again despite losing their teeth. The Egyptians always sought to defy time, from embalming bodies to the first attempts at prosthetics. In this, they were true pioneers. Camels are the champions of the desert. They can drink up to 130 litres of water in just 13 minutes. It's like a person draining an entire bathtub in one go. Their bodies are designed to retain moisture. Their blood and tissues are adapted to withstand dehydration, and they hardly sweat at all. Because of this, camels survive where other animals wouldn't last a day. It's no wonder they are called ships of the desert. They carry loads and people across the scorching sands like enormous living water tanks. China has built the longest bridge in the world. the Danyang Kunshan Grand Viaduct. It stretches over 160 kilometres. This high-speed railway connects major cities. Imagine riding a train while an endless bridge stretches beneath you, disappearing into the horizon. The construction took just 4 years, with thousands of engineers and workers involved. This bridge stands as a symbol of humanity's ability to conquer even the vastest spaces, turning impossible distances into ordinary roads. It sounds crazy, but the playwright Aeschylus was killed by a turtle. The great ancient Greek tragedian met his end in the most absurd way. An eagle dropped a turtle on his head, mistaking his baldness for a rock suitable for breaking the shell. This incident has gone down in history as one of the strangest examples of irony of fate. Aeschylus, who wrote about the greatness of the gods and the destinies of heroes, became a victim of absurd chance himself. One could say that life played a tragicomedy on him, and now his name is associated not only with great plays, but also with an extraordinary death. When you hear the word bison, it sounds like a joke, but no, bison are a real hybrid of cattle and buffalo. These animals combine the strength and endurance of wild bison with the hardiness of domestic cows. They were specifically bred in the US to create a robust and resilient livestock capable of thriving in harsh conditions. As a result, bison have become true stars of agriculture. They adapt well and produce delicious meat. Imagine encountering a creature in the field that looks both familiar and exotic, as if two worlds have merged into one body. Nature and humans sometimes create unusual alliances, and bison are a striking example of how an experiment can lead to an extraordinary animal. Octopuses are remarkable creatures not only for their tentacles and intelligence, but also for how they care for their offspring. The female lays thousands of tiny eggs and then guards them for weeks, refusing to eat. All her energy goes into ensuring the hatchlings emerge safely. When this happens, the mother often dies from exhaustion. Such self-sacrifice is astonishing. She literally gives her life for the future generation. In the animal kingdom, such devotion is rare, so when observing an octopus, it's worth remembering that behind its cold exterior lies one of the most touching displays of maternal instinct. In Sweden, donors receive a message on their phone when their blood is used to save someone's life. Imagine, you donate blood, and a couple of days later, you get an SMS saying, "Thank you. Today, your blood helped a patient." It's not only a nice gesture, but also gives a sense that your action truly matters. People start donating blood more often because they see the results right on their phones. This simple step turns an ordinary procedure into a heartwarming story of human solidarity. And perhaps it's the best like in the world. The blue whale is the largest animal on the planet. Its heart can be compared to a small car. The arteries are so wide that theoretically a person could fit inside them. Each beat of this giant engine pumps tons of blood through its body, sustaining a creature that weighs hundreds of tons. Imagine what such a heart would sound like up close. A rumble comparable to the bass at a rock concert. And it works continuously for decades. We often talk about the heart as a symbol of strength and love, and for the whale, it is literally the largest on Earth. A story that sounds like fiction. A caterpillar turns into soup. When the time for transformation comes, the caterpillar crawls into a cocoon and literally dissolves its body using enzymes. This creates a viscous mass from which the eyes, wings, antennae, and all other organs are reformed. Essentially, it's a complete reset of the organism. Scientists are still amazed by this process. The insect destroys itself to build a new body from building blocks. The result is a butterfly, light and vibrant, completely different from the former caterpillar. Nature seems to show that sometimes, to change, one must completely break down into parts. What a surprise! The lines on a basketball were not designed for aesthetics. These stripes help players grip the ball firmly and better control its movement. Try playing with an old smooth ball and you'll immediately notice the difference. It slips out of your hands and shots become inaccurate. The lines provide traction for the fingers and allow for quick changes in the ball's direction. For spectators, it's just a familiar design element, but for players, it's an unnoticed yet vital tool. It turns out that the outcome of an entire game can depend on a few stripes applied to the orange surface. Sloths are known for their slow lifestyle. They can hang on a tree for hours, moving at a leisurely pace, but they have an amazing skill. They can hold their breath for up to 40 minutes. In comparison, a human can typically hold their breath for 1 to 2 minutes. This ability helps sloths hide from predators and even swim across rivers while staying underwater. It seems incredible that such a slow creature possesses a superpower that few people know about. Their slowness, combined with respiratory endurance, makes them true survival masters, proving that their outward laziness is merely a facade hiding smart adaptations. Yes, there are sharks that can walk. These are small epaulet sharks that live on coral reefs. They use their fins like legs, moving them to shuffle along the sea floor. This ability helps them search for food in places where swimming is difficult, like shallow lagoons. It looks unusual, as if a little shark decided to try on a lizard's outfit. Scientists believe this is an example of unique adaptation. Nature has seemingly given this predator new tools for survival. The walking shark is yet another reminder that the ocean holds countless wonders we are not even aware of. Penguins are masters of swimming and diving, but they have another trick up their sleeves. They intentionally swallow small stones. Why? First, these pebbles help grind food in their stomachs, acting like a kind of grinding system. Second, the extra weight helps the birds dive deeper and stay underwater longer. This way, penguins become true underwater hunters. Imagine what seems like a silly act, grabbing a stone and swallowing it, turns out to be a clever adaptation for survival. It's another example of how nature equips animals with unexpected tools that help them excel in their environment. Digital clocks are much more accurate than mechanical ones. Electronic devices use the vibrations of a quartz crystal, which functions almost like a perfectly precise metronome. Mechanical clocks, on the other hand, rely on springs and gears, making them more prone to wear and inaccuracies. The difference can be minutes over a month, while digital clocks may only lose a few seconds. Imagine a race. One runner stays perfectly on track, while the other constantly veers off slightly. That's how it is with clocks. Yet the irony is that mechanical watches often become symbols of luxury and style. Sharks are eternal swimmers. They lack a swim bladder which keeps most fish at the right depth. To avoid sinking and suffocating, they must keep moving all the time. Water flows through their gills, and that's the only way they get oxygen. Imagine having to walk your entire life with no right to sit down or lie down to sleep. For a shark, this is normal. Even in sleep, it continues to swim, moving slowly and calmly. So the ocean is for it both a bed and a road, a home all at once. A true marathon that lasts a lifetime. The paradox is that nuclear energy is considered safer than conventional coal and gas. Many people associate nuclear power with accidents and radiation danger, recalling Chernobyl or Fukushima, and that ends the discussion. However, statistics tell a different story. When comparing the number of victims and illnesses caused by various energy sources, coal and gas prove to be far more dangerous. Hundreds of thousands suffer from lung diseases due to emissions from power plants, while the climate takes a severe hit. In contrast, nuclear plants generate energy with almost no carbon emissions, and accidents are extremely rare. Thus we have a paradox. The frightening word nuclear instills fear, even though in reality it saves lives. The phrase, "the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog," is known for containing every letter of the English alphabet. Such sentences are called pangrams. They are used to test fonts, practice typing, or evaluate keyboards. However, this is not a concept from the computer age. Calligraphers in ancient times also created pangrams to refine their handwriting. Imagine having to come up with a phrase that includes all the letters while still sounding meaningful. It's like a verbal puzzle that combines language and play. In Madagascar, baobabs grow, captivating not only with their appearance, but also with their remarkable ability. Their roots can move in search of moisture. Of course, the tree itself doesn't walk, but its root system gradually extends in the necessary direction, creating the illusion that the baobab is shifting across the ground. This adaptation helps it survive in drought conditions. For the locals, the baobab is a sacred tree, a symbol of strength and longevity. Its fruits and leaves are used for food and medicine, while the trunk can serve as a home or a water reservoir. The baobab stands as a guardian of the island, capable of finding a way even where hope seems lost. In Hong Kong, some people live in apartments the size of a regular closet. Due to the housing shortage, so-called coffin apartments have emerged. Their area can be as small as 4 square metres, about the size of a large bed. People literally live in boxes. A small bed, a narrow shelf, sometimes a tiny table. And that's it. These apartments are officially called micro-apartments, but the residents ironically refer to them as coffins. The UN has even described this phenomenon as an affront to human dignity. Imagine, after a workday, you return not to a home, but to a cramped box where you can't even stand up straight. A story that sounds like a spy novel. Scientologists infiltrated US government agencies. In the 1970s, followers of this religion conducted Operation Snow White. Their goal was to destroy documents that could harm the church. Scientologists secretly entered buildings, stole materials, and attempted to sabotage investigations. Ultimately, the FBI uncovered the conspiracy, making it one of the largest cases of illegal infiltration into government structures. For many, this event was shocking. A religious organisation operated using intelligence agency tactics. It turns out that real life can sometimes be far more dramatic than fiction in movies. In the Emirates, skyscrapers are built not only for beauty, but also for practical purposes. In the heat, height helps cool the buildings. At higher levels, the temperature is lower, and the shade from the towers covers parts of the streets. Thus, architecture becomes a way to combat the climate. Imagine a city where towers are not just decorations, but a refuge from the scorching sun. Moreover, tall buildings save land, freeing up space for parks and roads. As a result, modern skyscrapers are not a whim, but a smart solution that transforms the desert into a comfortable and cool metropolis. In the town of Talkeetna, Alaska, they've come up with a tourist attraction. A trained bear delivers the mail. Of course, he doesn't go door to door, but participates in a show, carrying baskets filled with letters inside the post office. Tourists love the idea of sending a postcard with a bear stamp. It's a unique keepsake. The locals have turned this into an attraction, and now the bear postman has become a true symbol of the town. It sounds almost like a fairy tale, but it's actually a real way to attract visitors and make ordinary mail a local landmark. In the Atlantic Ocean lies Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited place on the planet. The nearest mainland is nearly 2,500 kilometres away, and only about 260 people live there. The only way to reach the island is by ship, taking 6 days from South Africa. There are no airports, shopping centres or hotels, and almost all the residents are descendants of sailors and settlers. Life here seems to be stuck in another time. People live in a community, grow their own food, and know each other by name. For a tourist, it's a unique experience to find oneself in a world where civilization is left behind the horizon. Today, the Earth's population has surpassed 8 billion people. Imagine, that's 8 billion stories, voices, smiles, and destinies. For comparison, in just the last 100 years, we've quadrupled in number. Once, only a few million people lived on the planet, and now that many can reside in a single, large city. This figure prompts us to think about the future. Will resources be sufficient? Will we learn to care for the planet? Yet at the same time, 8 billion represents 8 billion opportunities, ideas, and discoveries that could change the world. In the tropical forests of Papua New Guinea lives a creature that is easily overlooked, the smallest frog in the world. It measures just 7.7 millimeters, less than a centimeter. Weighing about 1/100th of a gram, it hides among the leaves, appearing as a tiny dot. But don't be fooled into thinking it's quiet. Its voice resembles the buzz of an insect and can be heard from a considerable distance. This little one demonstrates that nature can create not only giants like whales and elephants, but also incredible miniature champions. It's astonishing how life and energy can fit into such a microscopic body. It sounds incredible, but there was a cartel that limited the lifespan of light bulbs. In the 1920s, the largest light manufacturers formed the Phoebus cartel. They agreed that bulbs should not last longer than 1,000 hours. If a company produced a more durable product, it was fined. This artificially maintained demand, people kept buying new bulbs over and over again. Meanwhile, it's known that bulbs can last for decades. A lamp in a California fire station has been shining for over 100 years. This example became a symbol of planned obsolescence and showed that businesses can even control the light in our homes. A story that challenges conventional understanding. Lomonosov discovered the atmosphere of Venus. In the 18th century, while observing Venus transit across the Sun's disk, Mikhail Lomonosov noticed a glowing halo around the planet. He deduced that this was not an optical illusion, but evidence of an atmosphere. This discovery made him the first person to prove that another planet has its own envelope. For modern astronomers, this seems obvious, but at the time it was revolutionary. Lomonosov demonstrated that scientific intuition and careful observation can reveal what is invisible to others. Dubai loves to impress with architectural wonders, and one of the ideas is skyscrapers that rotate around their axis. Imagine a building where each floor can slowly turn, offering residents a new view. The sea in the morning, the desert in the evening, and the city lights at night. This technology requires complex solutions, but it transforms the building into a living mechanism. Additionally, the rotation helps evenly distribute sunlight throughout the building and saves energy. This is not just a striking concept, but a step towards smart architecture, where comfort and beauty go hand in hand. Dubai once again proves that the future is already here. Robert Howard, the author of Conan and the Barbarian, was a friend and ally of H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft, the creator of the Cthulhu mythos, was a close friend of Robert Howard, the legendary creator of Conan. They corresponded, discussed their works, and inspired each other. When Howard took his own life at the age of 30, Lovecraft was deeply shaken and soon succumbed to illness and depression. Their friendship became a link between Lovecraft's dark cosmic horror and Howard's heroic fantasy. Thus, two completely different genres, horror and epic adventure, somehow emerged from a single creative friendship. Even the great Benjamin Franklin used electricity for fun pranks. One of the founding fathers of the United States was not only a politician and scientist, but also a big fan of practical jokes. Franklin conducted experiments with electricity and once electrified the crown in a portrait of King George II of England. When guests tried to touch it, they were shocked. Franklin laughed and called this trick the electric shock of treason. Sometimes he would ask people to hold hands so the shock would pass along, creating a whole chain of laughing conspirators. For him, even science was an excuse for fun. Only humans can blush. This phenomenon is linked to the expansion of blood vessels in the face during emotions like shame, excitement, or love. You've probably caught yourself feeling your cheeks betray you after an awkward comment or an unexpected compliment. It's amusing, but no dog, cat, or even intelligent monkey can blush. There's something very human about this. We not only think and speak, but we also wear our emotions right on our faces, like a living mood indicator. Who would have thought that the hockey mask was invented by a Japanese man? In 1936, goalie Teiji Honma took to the ice in an unusual piece of equipment, a face mask resembling a samurai helmet. At the time, his idea seemed strange, but it later became the foundation for modern protective gear in hockey. Today, it's hard to imagine a goalie without a mask, but it was once considered unnecessary. Honma was a pioneer who blended the traditions of his culture with the sport. Thanks to him, hockey gained an item that has saved the health of thousands of players around the world. It turns out that the rubber snake is not just a toy, but a real animal. In Canada, there is a harmless snake with the surprising name of rubber snake. It is completely safe for humans and is even used in therapy for people with phobias. Due to its calm demeanour and soft body, it is used for gradual acclimatization to snakes. There have been no recorded cases of attacks on humans. Interestingly, the rubber snake that we usually think of as a prank toy actually exists in nature and helps people overcome their fears. Sometimes even the names of animals sound like a joke from nature. Imagine a person who would have to eat 100 pizzas a day to survive. Tiny hummingbirds expend so much energy that they eat almost every 15 minutes. Their metabolism is so accelerated that if a human had the same, they would need to consume about 150,000 calories a day. That's roughly equivalent to eating 100 large pizzas daily. Without food, a hummingbird can die in just a few hours, so they live in a constant race for fuel. Their tiny hearts beat at an incredible rate, and their bodies operate at full capacity. These birds are like the sports cars of the natural world. You won't believe it, but Isaac Newton was a secret agent. At the end of the 17th century, he was appointed as the Master of the Royal Mint in England. At that time, the country was suffering from an influx of counterfeiters. Newton didn't limit himself to office work. He disguised himself, visited taverns, gathered evidence, and brought criminals to justice. His efforts led to dozens of arrests. So the author of the Laws of Mechanics was simultaneously waging a real battle against the underground. History remembers him as a great scientist, but few know that part of his life resembled a spy novel. The tall towers on old fire stations were not just for aesthetics, but served practical purposes. If you look closely at these old buildings, you can almost always spot a high tower. It was used not only for watching over the city and signalling fires, but also for drying long hoses after use. Wet hoses couldn't be stored coiled up. They would deteriorate quickly. So, they were hung in the tower, stretching down to their full length. Sometimes signal balls or lanterns were displayed on the tower to alert neighbouring stations about a fire. Thus, these towers functioned as dryers, communication systems, and symbols of vigilance. What a surprise! It turns out that intelligent people are the ones who remember their dreams most often. Researchers have noticed a pattern. Individuals with high intelligence and rich imagination tend to recall their dreams and can recount them in detail. This is linked to brain activity during the rapid eye movement, REM phase of sleep. Of course, this doesn't mean that someone who forgets their dreams is unintelligent, but the connection is intriguing. Perhaps a developed imagination helps retain nighttime images. It seems that dreams serve as a kind of workout for the brain, and those inclined toward creativity receive a bonus in the form of vivid memories. The snail may seem slow and harmless, but it has a whole arsenal in its mouth. Thousands of tiny teeth located on a special organ called the radula. With this rasp-like ribbon, the snail scrapes its food, leaves, bark, even stones covered in algae. The teeth are so small that they can only be seen under a microscope, but they make the snail a true connoisseur of nature. Imagine having a mini-saw in your mouth that works non-stop. It sounds funny, but this is what helps it survive in various conditions. Who would have thought that an albatross can fly for hours without flapping its wings? These seabirds are true masters of gliding. They skillfully utilize the air currents above the ocean, allowing them to soar for hours with minimal energy expenditure. Some albatrosses spend years at sea, rarely landing on land. They sleep on the water, feed on fish, and feel at home in the ocean. Imagine a whole life in the sky above the sea, where wings become sails. Albatrosses are a symbol of freedom, and their ability to fly almost effortlessly amazes even scientists. Strangely, female tarantulas live much longer than males, up to 40 years. While males have a short lifespan after reaching maturity, females can survive for several decades. Moreover, they can go without food for up to 2 years if they have access to water. This resilience makes them some of the most unusual spiders. For many, tarantulas symbolize fear, but in reality, they are surprisingly patient and enduring creatures. Their lives are slow, almost stretched out in time. And if spiders know how to wait, female tarantulas are true champions of this art. Vladimir Lenin was not only a revolutionary, but also an avid chess player. During his exile in Siberia, he played correspondence games, solved chess problems and studies, and later often used chess metaphors in his writings. For him, chess was not just a game, but a training ground for strategic thinking. Imagine, he could manage several games at once while in exile and simultaneously work on political texts. Chess helped him hone his patience and ability to calculate moves. Thus, the revolutionary known for decisive actions was a cool-headed strategist on the board, capable of waiting for the right moment to make a winning move. Have you ever wondered why a person can't walk straight with their eyes closed? Scientists have conducted experiments where people were asked to walk in a straight line without visual cues. Almost everyone ended up moving in a curved trajectory, often in a spiral. The reason lies in our proprioception, which is the sense of our body's position in space. Without visual guidance, the brain gradually loses its way. Interestingly, a person can navigate by stars or even by smell, but as soon as we take away the familiar visual control, we turn into drunken sailors, unable to walk straight even for 100 meters. Octopuses are true inventors of the underwater world. Scientists have observed that they can use coconut shells as shelters. They pick up suitable halves, drag them along the ocean floor, and then assemble them like a shield when they need to hide. It looks as if the octopus has its own backpack or portable tent. For an animal without bones or a shell, this is a brilliant solution. It creates its own armor. Octopuses are already known for their high intelligence, but using objects is a level of ingenuity akin to humans. So it turns out that a little MacGyver with 8 arms lives on the ocean floor. Did you know that scientists experimented with inverted glasses? In the 1890s, psychologist George Stratton gave volunteers special glasses that turned the image upside down. In the first few days, people stumbled, struggled to eat or write, but gradually the brain adapted. After a week, they were seeing the world correctly again. And when they took off the glasses, everything around them seemed inverted once more. This experiment proved that perception is not fixed. The brain can reshape our view of the world. It turns out we see reality not with our eyes, but with our minds, which learn to interpret it. If you decide to walk the Great Wall of China from start to finish, Prepare for a marathon lasting almost a year and a half. The total length of the wall is over 20,000 kilometres. Even if you walk 30 kilometres a day without stopping, it would still take about 18 months. Imagine, every day brings new views, mountains, steppes, villages, all accompanied by ancient stone battlements. It's like walking along the longest historical ribbon, where each tower holds its own story. Few can undertake such a journey, but the thought that it's possible is inspiring. When a group of ferrets gathers, it's called a business. This is quite fitting. They are constantly bustling about, exploring everything around them, stealing shiny objects, and darting around as if discussing important deals. Imagine a small office where the employees wear fluffy tails instead of suits. They jump, play, and look so busy that you can't help but think, yes, they really are hard at work. This amusing name highlights the nature of these animals: active, curious, and a bit chaotic. It's a business you could watch forever. Sometimes science plays with coincidences. The same equation is discovered by two different scientists. The Lorentz-Lorentz equation got its name for a reason. It was derived independently by two researchers, the Danish scientist Ludwig Lorentz and the Dutch scientist Hendrik Lorentz. The difference was nearly 10 years, and they were unaware of each other's work. In the end, both published almost the same discovery. Science sometimes has such quirks. People in different countries working on similar problems arrive at the same results. This shows that discoveries are not random. They hang in the air, waiting to be noticed. In the town of Coober Pedy in southern Australia, people hide from the heat underground. There, they have not only homes, shops and churches, but even a post office. Imagine walking into a rock and finding a regular post office inside, complete with a window, stamps and mailboxes. Everything operates just like on the surface, except the walls are made of sandstone and the temperature is pleasantly cool year-round. Tourists are thrilled. It's rare to send a postcard from an actual underground office. For the locals, however, it's just a part of life, a way to survive in a climate where the ground literally melts from the heat in summer. The banana plant may seem stationary, but it can actually move. Over its lifetime, it can shift about 40 centimetres. This is due to its root system. New shoots grow slightly away from the old ones, and gradually, the entire plant seems to step forward. You can't see this with the naked eye, but if you speed up time, you can observe how the banana family slowly moves toward the sun. This ability helps the plant survive and find better spots for growth. It's amusing to think that even bananas, which we tend to consider simple fruits, actually have their own little secret of travellers. The computer keyboard is something we touch every day, but we rarely think about how many germs are on it. Studies show that there are often more bacteria on the keys than on a toilet seat. Crumbs, dust and grease from our hands create the perfect environment for microbial life. Therefore, regular cleaning is not just a whim, but a matter of health. Sometimes, simply wiping the keyboard with disinfecting wipes or using a special vacuum for electronics is enough. So, as you type a message or play a game, remember, beneath your fingers lies an entire zoo. And perhaps computer hygiene is more important than we tend to think. Cows are not only a source of milk and delicious cheese, but they are also very social creatures. Scientists have observed that they have true best friends. They graze, rest, and even communicate with special sounds together. But the most surprising thing is that when these friends are separated, cows begin to experience stress. Their heart rates increase and they become restless and sad. It turns out that these large, peaceful animals feel separation almost the same way we do when we miss a close friend. So next time you see a cow in a meadow, consider that she might be standing next to a friend she has known for years, and that connection is just as important to her as it is to us. Scientists love to say that the water we drink today has existed since the time of the dinosaurs. Water molecules are constantly circulating, evaporating, falling as rain, flowing into rivers and seas. Imagine this. By sipping a glass of water, you might be drinking the very same molecules that quenched the thirst of a triceratops millions of years ago. This cycle makes us part of a vast system where the past and present intertwine in every drop. Even ordinary water turns out to be a connection between us and the prehistoric world. Time on Mercury is arranged in an unusual way. This small world completes an orbit around the Sun in just 88 Earth days, but its own rotation takes twice as long, 176 days. This means that one day on Mercury lasts longer than its year. Imagine, mornings stretch on for months, and sunsets are events celebrated like holidays. For astronomers, this is an intriguing paradox, but for future colonists, it poses a real challenge. Living on a planet where days last half a year means completely restructuring one's rhythm of life. Nature has a way of surprising us by breaking the familiar laws of time. The Incas in South America built suspension bridges made of grass and vines 2,000 years ago. These woven structures connected the banks of mountain rivers and served as real roads between villages. Every year, the residents of nearby villages would reweave the ropes to ensure the bridge remained strong. Imagine, dozens of people gather, weaving ropes from grass and renewing an entire bridge as one big ritual. Despite the simplicity of the materials, these bridges could support not only people, but also caravans with cargo. This is an amazing example of how engineering can emerge directly from nature. The oldest university in the world was established in the 9th century in Morocco. It was founded by a woman, Fatima al-Fihri. She invested her inheritance in the construction of a mosque and an educational centre, which became a place of knowledge for thousands of students. It's remarkable that at a time when women had very few rights, one of them created an institution that has survived for centuries. Today, Al-Qarawiyyin University is still operational and is considered the oldest in the world. Fatima's story reminds us that great changes often come from those we least expect. Ordinary clay unexpectedly gave the world the image of a piggy bank. In fact, the term piggy bank has nothing to do with animals. In Old English, there was a word pig, which referred to red clay. This clay was used to make pots and jars for storing coins. Over time, the banks themselves became associated with this word. However, people later began to interpret pig as pig. Thus, the idea of making banks in the shape of piglets was born. This resulted in a remarkable example of how a linguistic mix-up created an iconic symbol of children's savings. In ancient Rome, fashion could be both strange and bold. To achieve a rich dark hair colour, noble women used not dye, but leeches. They would take them, place them in a vessel, let them ferment, and then apply the resulting goo to their hair. It sounds horrifying, but at the time, it was considered a true beauty secret. Imagine a modern salon. A client walks in and is offered leeches shampoo. We would run away in horror, but for the Romans, it was a normal grooming ritual. Interestingly, thousands of years later, we are still willing to undergo bizarre procedures for beauty. Only now, they smell a lot better. In Japan, there are unusual hotels where guests are greeted not by people, but by robots. Imagine being welcomed by an android at the reception, while a mechanical porter delivers your luggage to your room. Even cleaning and service are partially handled by machines. This network is called Henna Hotel, and it has become a true attraction. For tourists, it's an opportunity to glimpse the future, where technology and service merge into one. Of course, sometimes robots make mistakes and humans have to step in, but the experiences are unforgettable. The Japanese have once again proven that if you're looking for futuristic ideas in everyday life, you should look to them. A hotel with robots is a reality where you can spend the night today. In China, there is an unusual village called Bama, where many residents live to be 100 years old or more. Scientists attribute this to a combination of clean air, mineral water, and a local diet rich in herbs and vegetables, with almost no bad habits. However, the locals have a different perspective. The secret lies in harmony with nature and a positive mindset. People here continue to work physically into old age, take walks, tend to their gardens, and their lives are filled with movement. Tourists come to see these lively seniors, hoping to adopt their habits. This place has become a symbol of the idea that longevity is not just about genetics, but also about a lifestyle that values simplicity and tranquility. In Pakistan, you can find a tree bound in real chains. Since 1898, there has been an arrested tree. The legend says that a British officer in a drunken state believed the tree was about to escape and ordered it to be chained. Absurd, of course, but the tree still stands with its iron shackles, now as a tourist attraction. People come to see this strange blend of nature and human imagination. It has become a true prisoner of conscience, only green and silent. Imagine Venice at night, when tourists disperse to their hotels and the city falls silent. You walk across an ancient stone bridge and suddenly it emits astonishing sounds, like a soft melody. This is due to its unique design. In certain spots, plates are installed that begin to vibrate with each step. The effect of resonance transforms an ordinary bridge into a musical instrument. Tourists unwittingly become musicians themselves. These sounds seem to transport you to the past, to an era when Venice was a hub of trade and art. The city still knows how to amaze. Here, even the stones converse and sing if you listen closely enough. Do you remember those annoying pop-up windows on the internet? The ones that took up half the screen and drove you crazy? It turns out their inventor publicly apologized for them later. In the 1990s, programmer Ethan Zuckerman came up with this method to separate ads from main content. At the time, it seemed like a good idea, but soon ads flooded the web, turning surfing into a nightmare. Years later, Zuckerman admitted that his invention caused more harm than good. This is a great example of how even good intentions can lead to unpleasant outcomes. And now, when we close yet another pop-up window, we can remember that its creator regrets it. Beneath the massive feet of elephants lies an intriguing secret. They have unique toes. These special bony structures help distribute their weight and allow the animals to move almost silently. Thanks to them, an elephant walks softly despite its tons of mass. They sense the ground like a cat's pads and provide stability even on unstable surfaces. This is why these giants can calmly tread on sand, clay, or even marshy land. Their gait is remarkably light, and if you close your eyes, you might not even notice a whole elephant sneaking up on you. Nature has once again demonstrated its engineering genius. Trends in animal fashion often lead to illness and suffering for them. So-called designer dog and cat breeds look unusual and cute, short legs, flat faces, and huge eyes. However, behind this cuteness lie serious problems. Due to artificial selection, these animals frequently suffer from congenital diseases, ranging from breathing issues to joint deformities. In Scotland, a law has even been passed to prohibit the breeding of such breeds to prevent further suffering. People aim to make animals more beautiful, but instead, they have bestowed upon them constant torment. This is a striking example of how the desire for fashion can turn against nature itself. The story of the fire hydrant began with irony. Its first patent was burned. The tale is ironic. An invention created to fight fire itself vanished in flames. The exact design of the first hydrant remains unknown because the documents were destroyed in the fire. scholars and historians can only speculate about who might have been the inventor. The hydrants we are familiar with on the streets only began to appear in large numbers years later. It creates a true paradox. We use this invention every day, yet the name of the first person who devised this way to save lives is forever lost to the fire. For a long time, scientists were unaware that the strange transparent lava was a future eel. They believed for a long time that the Leptocephalus was a separate species of fish. Its transparent, almost glass-like body with a long shape does not resemble any adult ocean dweller. But then it turned out that this is just a stage in the development of the eel. Such an unexpected masquerade of nature. The tiny larva lives its own life and then gradually transforms into the eel we know. Discoveries like this always surprise in science. It turns out that some of the new species are merely disguised teenagers of old acquaintances. You won't believe it, but there's a name for the lint in your pocket. Those tiny clumps that gather in the corner are called knurr. They consist of fabric threads, fuzz, bits of paper, and dust. Gradually, they roll into dense balls, especially after washing. We usually regard them as trivial, but scientists have an official term for this phenomenon. It's amusing that even something as small as a lint ball in your jeans has its own definition in science. Sometimes it seems like language is ready to describe absolutely everything, even the most insignificant details. In Kenya, there is a remarkable phenomenon known as moving lakes. These saline bodies of water can disappear for months and then reappear elsewhere when the rains come. It seems as if the Earth itself is shifting them on the map. In reality, this is linked to underground rivers and tectonic processes that direct the water to areas with voids. For the local people and animals, it poses a real challenge. Birds and herds are forced to follow the water as if it were a living entity. Imagine, a familiar lake has vanished and you search for it in a new location, as if trying to catch up with an old friend. These wandering lakes demonstrate that nature operates by its own rules, and sometimes even the most familiar things, like water, can be unpredictable. The carnivorous plant Venus flytrap can literally count. When an insect touches its sensitive hairs, the trap doesn't close immediately. The plant waits for a second touch to ensure it's not just a random raindrop or a speck of dust. If the touch is repeated, the lobes snap shut. Scientists have found that the flytrap keeps an internal count, and a specific number of stimuli is also needed for digestion. This means the plant has a primitive memory and a decision-making system. This makes it resemble a creature with a brain, even though it doesn't have one. The world of mammals is diverse. Some run, some swim, some jump. But only bats can truly fly. Their wings are membranes stretched over elongated fingers, not feathers like birds. This structure makes them incredibly agile. Additionally, bats use echolocation. They emit sounds that bounce off objects, allowing them to navigate in the dark by the echoes. This enables them to hunt at night with missile-like precision. Bats play a crucial role in the ecosystem, consuming millions of insects and pollinating plants. These small nocturnal hunters are true masters of the air. When you look at a chicken, it's hard to believe that you're staring at a distant relative of the fearsome Tyrannosaurus rex. But that's what science claims. Bird DNA shares common traits with ancient predators. Scientists even refer to the chicken as a living reminder of dinosaurs. It turns out that millions of years ago, terrifying giants ruled the planet, and today their descendants run around backyards and lay eggs. It's amusing how nature has changed the role of these creatures, from kings to simple inhabitants of rural homesteads. And now, when you see a chicken, you might think, here it is, a small shadow of the great T-Rex, stepping into modernity. In Switzerland, animal welfare is taken to the level of laws. You can't keep a single guinea pig alone. only in pairs or groups. This is because these little creatures are very social and quickly become sad and even ill without company. Imagine buying one guinea pig and you could face a fine as the state considers loneliness to be real suffering for them. On the bright side, owners know that their pets live in small groups where they can always interact, sleep together, or share a carrot. This law demonstrates that animals are not toys, but living beings with feelings, and they deserve to be treated with humanity. A coincidence made Nicolas Cage a high school biology teacher in Serbia. In the 1990s, a school textbook was published in Serbia, and a still from the movie Raising Arizona, featuring Cage holding a baby, mistakenly ended up on the cover. For several years, students would open the textbook and immediately see the Hollywood star, as if he were a serious illustrator of school science. It's an absurd detail, but it only adds to the humour. The actor inadvertently became a resource for Serbian schoolchildren. Who knows, maybe that cover inspired someone to take an interest in biology for the first time. Japan's national anthem is the shortest in the world. In its original form, it consists of just 32 characters and lasts less than a minute. Yet, within these concise lines lies a profound meaning, a wish for the country's prosperity and longevity. In contrast to other anthems that feature lengthy tales of heroism and history, Japan's anthem sounds like a poetic whisper. It's akin to a haiku among anthems. Minimal words, maximum emotion. This succinctness is what makes it unique. Sometimes it's truly better to say little, but with impact. The cougar is a cat that seems to have checked off almost every location on the map. You can find it in the mountains of Canada, the deserts of Chile, the forests of the United States, and even on the outskirts of cities. It adapts to any conditions, from snow to heat. No wonder it's called the cat with 1,000 addresses. Unlike many large predators, the cougar is not afraid of human proximity and sometimes appears near settlements. Yet it remains elusive and cautious. It's an incredible example of survival. Where tigers and lions are confined to specific territories, the cougar roams freely across an entire continent. Many people consider donkeys to be stubborn and dull animals, but in reality, they are much smarter and more emotional than they seem. Donkeys have excellent memories for friends, both humans and other animals, and can hold on to such memories for up to 20 years. They can sense their owner's mood, enjoy attention, feel jealous, and even become sad if ignored. In fact, donkeys have a rich inner world and value friendship just as much as dogs do. Therefore, it's not surprising that in countries where donkeys live alongside people, they are regarded not just as helpers, but almost as full-fledged family members. Those ears and gentle eyes hide much more than we tend to think. Did you know that the Pentagon cannot account for half of its budget? The US Department of Defense is regularly audited, and each time it turns out that a huge portion of its expenses remains unverified. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. The reasons include the complexity of the system, bureaucracy, and sometimes plain negligence. But for taxpayers, it sounds absurd. The world's largest military spends money, but can't accurately explain where it goes. This fact has become a source of numerous conspiracy theories and distrust in the government. In any case, it's a striking example of how even a massive organisation can get lost in its own accounts. In the tropical forests of the Amazon, there grows a palm that locals call the walking palm. Its roots are structured in such a way that the tree can slowly move several metres in search of light. Old roots die off while new ones grow on the other side, making the palm appear to take a step. Over the years, it can walk several metres, changing its location. Of course, it's not a stroll in the usual sense, but the sight is impressive, a tree that moves to survive. Scientists debate the speed and scale of this process, but the fact itself is astonishing. Nature once again proves that even trees can seek their place in the sun, literally on the move. Ocean giants, sperm whales, are capable of communicating over thousands of kilometres. These ocean behemoths use powerful vibrations for communication that travel through water over vast distances. Scientists suggest that one sperm whale can call another located on the other side of the ocean. However, these same vibrations can be dangerous for humans. Getting too close can lead to paralysis or even death. Thus, sperm whales have their own underwater telephone network that operates far more efficiently than many of our technologies. Their language has not yet been fully deciphered, but it is already clear that it is one of the most complex systems in the animal kingdom. Did you know that the largest island nation is Indonesia? This country consists of more than 17,000 islands, but the exact number is still unknown even to the government. Some islands disappear underwater, while others emerge from volcanoes. Indonesia is like a living puzzle that is constantly changing. It is the largest archipelago on the planet, and its geography contributes to its diversity, from tropical beaches to dense jungles and sprawling megacities. Here, literally every area is a separate world with its own culture, language, and traditions. Off the coast of Mauritius, there is a breathtaking sight. It looks as if a giant waterfall is crashing into the ocean right by the shore. In reality, this is an optical illusion. Ocean currents carry sand and sediment in such a way that it creates the impression of a swift flow downward into the abyss. From above, the view is fantastic. The water seems to plunge through the edge of the ocean. Tourists specifically fly here to witness this natural wonder with their own eyes. In reality, there is no chasm, but the beauty of the illusion is so striking that it is considered one of the most mesmerizing landscapes on the planet. The largest spider on the planet is the Goliath bird-eater. Its leg span can reach 30 centimetres and it weighs over 170 grams. This hairy giant can hunt not only insects, but also small rodents, lizards, and even chicks. When encountered, it can produce a frightening hissing sound by rubbing its legs together. Despite its fearsome appearance, its bite is not deadly to humans. It's similar to a wasp sting. However, the impression of an encounter is strong. It's like a small dog in the world of spiders. Scientists call it the king of spiders, and it's hard to argue with that. Many have noticed the small coloured squares at the bottom of toothpaste tubes. Rumours claim that they indicate the composition. Green means natural, red means chemical. But in reality, these are just marks for machines at the factory. They help accurately position the tube during packaging and labelling. The colour of the square is not related to the ingredients. It's simply a technical marker. It turns out we've been attributing significance to ordinary paint stripes for decades. It's amusing how easily myths are born. A small square can transform into a secret code, when in fact, it's only meant for the assembly line. The paradox is that the first multicellular organisms went extinct almost immediately. 2 billion years ago, the Earth's atmosphere temporarily had more oxygen. This is when the first multicellular beings appeared. It seemed like life had taken a huge step forward. However, after a while, the oxygen levels dropped again, and these pioneers disappeared without leaving any descendants. Scientists refer to them as the Franzvillian biota because their remains were found in Africa. It turns out that nature's first trial run failed. Yet without it, we might not exist. Every failure in evolution paved the way for new attempts. Who would have thought that in London, where rain is more common than sunshine, there's a real underground beach? In an old subway tunnel, an unusual space has been created: sand, palm trees and lighting that mimic sunset. Parties and concerts take place there, and stepping inside feels like entering a parallel reality. Above you, trains rumble by, while people sip cocktails on the shore of an underground sea. This place is like a little secret of the city. No one expects to find a beach beneath the asphalt of a metropolis. The irony is that for Londoners, it's easier to dive into the tunnel than to travel to the sea. Did you know that the Amish fundamentally do not wear moustaches? This religious group is known for its conservative lifestyle. No electricity, no cars, and traditional clothing. Amish men grow beards, but never leave moustaches. The reason is that in the 19th century, moustaches were associated with the military, and the Amish have always been committed pacifists. For them, moustaches symbolise war and violence, which is why they reject them. It turns out that even a small detail of appearance can become a powerful symbol of beliefs and a reflection of one's worldview. Even serious scientific satellites can have cartoon nicknames. In 2002, the Grace mission was launched, 2 satellites that flew one behind the other in the same orbit. Their task was to measure gravitational changes on Earth. One satellite would speed up as it passed over mountain ranges, drifting away from the other, and then they would come back together. Scientists joked that they were playing tag and nicknamed them Tom and Jerry. It's amusing that a serious scientific project of global significance ended up with a name from a children's cartoon. So much so that it became the mission's official informal name. A herd of goats is referred to in an unusual way: nannies and billies. The females are called nannies, while the males are billies. This amusing terminology highlights their personalities. The goat always appears caring, yet stubborn, while the buck is independent and proud. Imagine a farm where the shepherd calls not just a herd, but a team of nannies and billies. It adds a touch of humour to simple rural life. Such names show that people have always tried to see in animals not just food or assistance, but also their unique characters. The starfish eats in a rather unusual way. It turns its stomach inside out and wraps it around its prey, such as a shell. The food is digested externally, and then the stomach is pulled back in. It's like a portable container. Take it out, eat, and put it away. This method allows the starfish to handle prey that is difficult to swallow whole. It's amusing that behind the calm appearance of these sea creatures lies such a trick with their stomachs. They seem to know the secret to an unconventional approach to eating. In the Middle Ages, there was an unusual unit of volume, the ton. But it wasn't the familiar weight measurement, it referred to the amount of wine that could fit in a huge barrel. Merchants and winemakers used this method of measurement for trade. Imagine at a fair, deals were made not in litres or even barrels, but in whole tons of wine. Today, this word is associated with heaviness and mass, but once it was linked to joy and feasting. This detail of history serves as a reminder that many modern terms originated from very practical needs of the past, when wine was almost a currency. It may seem like ordinary things, but if you take a closer look, they hold the most unexpected stories. If you enjoyed this journey through the world of curiosities, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's even more to come that textbooks have kept silent about.